In the quiet town of Magoling, Pampanga, surrounded by rice fields and long, dusty roads, lived a 19-year-old Filipino tinkerer named Arvin de la Cruz. To most people, he was just young Betong mahilig magkalkol ang siya, the kid who always dissected broken appliances. To his mother, he was a constant headache who filled their small bahay with wires, old circuit boards, and the smell of soda. But inside Arvin's mind was an idea that would one day shake the technology world and challenge one of the most powerful innovators on Earth. Arvin grew up watching rockets on a tiny second-hand TV. He idolized space programs, electric cars, and futuristic cities. He'd stream tech talks late into the night, eyes wide as famous CEOs spoke about Mars, AI, and robots. One of his biggest inspirations was Elon Musk. Arvin watched all his presentations, memorized his quotes, and even drew rockets on his notebooks in school. But there was one big difference between them. Elon had billions of dollars, giant factories, and armies of engineers. Arvin had a bamboo workbench, junkyard scrap, and a small fan to fight the heat. Still, Arvin had something powerful, a front-row seat to the struggles of rural life in the Philippines. His Lola lived on a remote island in Zambales. To send her medicine, they had to take a tricycle, then a jeepney, then a boat, then hike. During storms, deliveries took days or never arrived. In neighboring barangays, students walked hours just to pick up printed modules or relief goods. If only something could fly over these roads and seas, Arvin thought, we wouldn't have to choose between distance and survival. That vision haunted him. What if there was a flying machine small enough to be built in a backyard, strong enough to endure Philippine heat and typhoons, and powered not by expensive fuel, but by the same sun that scorched their fields every day? He imagined a solar-powered drone that could deliver supplies, medicines, learning materials, even blood bags to the remotest islands. One night, while scrolling through his phone, Arvin stumbled on a clip of Elon Musk answering an audience question about solar-powered delivery drones. Elon chuckled and said, in theory, sure, but in practice, the energy density and real-world conditions make it basically impossible at scale. If someone else figures it out first, I'll be impressed. The audience laughed. Arvin didn't laugh. He paused the video, replayed the sentence, and stared at the screen. You said it's basically impossible, he whispered, but you've never lived here. To Elon, the problem was numbers and charts. To Arvin, it was his Lola's medicine and his neighbor's food. The next day, Arvin made a decision. If the world's richest inventor said it couldn't be done, then a kid from Pampanga would prove him wrong. He started at the junkyard, old ceiling fans, broken RC toys, dead car batteries, cracked solar garden lights. Arvin collected everything he could find. He scribbled designs in a notebook while sitting on a rice sack. He read free PDFs on aerodynamics, battery chemistry, and solar efficiency. Sometimes the internet died. He'd just keep sketching. Sometimes there was a brownout. He'd work by flashlight. His mother scolded him when wires sprawled across the floor, and wala tayong para calico and mo, but she still handed him extra food when he forgot to eat. His father, a construction worker, watched silently at first. One night, he gave Arvin an old toolbox, Ito. Galing pasot ate ko, kangagawa ko ang impossible, goi mo ang miles. The first prototype was a disaster. Arvin bolted together from mismatched fan motors, taped on propellers, and strapped a butted solar panel on top. When he tried to launch it in the rice field, the drone lifted off for exactly 3 seconds, flipped, and buried itself nose first into the mud. The neighborhood kids laughed, rolling on the ground. "Uy, Sikuya man," they shouted. Arvin forced a smile, retrieved the broken frame, and walked home. He didn't quit. Each failure taught him something. He learned that weight was crucial, so he swapped heavy metal for bamboo and lightweight salvaged plastics. He found that local solar panels weren't efficient enough, so he experimented with overlapping angles to capture light from multiple directions, even when the sun was low. He realized typical drone batteries overheated in Philippine heat, so he designed a homemade cooling system based on the way Nipa huts breathe, with vents and natural airflow. Months passed. Prototype 2 lasted 7 seconds. Prototype 3 crashed after 30. Prototype 7 flew for almost a minute, enough to make the barangay captain raise an eyebrow. "If you can make that thing carry a box of medicine," the captain said, half joking, "I'll recommend you to the governor." Arvin smiled. Challenge accepted. Prototype 12 changed everything. The frame was a cross of carbon fiber scraps and polished bamboo, strong and light. The wings weren't just flat. They were slightly curved like the wings of a Philippine eagle, shaped to generate lift with minimal power. The top surface was an intricate patchwork of small, high-efficiency solar cells Arvin had painstakingly rescued from broken panels and rewired by hand. The battery pack below was his masterpiece, recycled 18,650 cells, tested and matched, ranged in a custom configuration that balanced weight, endurance, and safety. For weeks, he tested at dawn. When winds were mild and the fields empty, the drone lifted, hovered, and responded to his handmade controller. One day, he strapped on a 1-kilo sandbag to simulate real cargo. The drone adjusted, wobbled, and then stabilized. It flew across the field, circled the barangay, and returned smoothly. Arvin's heart pounded. It worked. He called it Hiraya 1, after the Filipino phrase Hiraya Manawari, "May your dreams come true." The barangay captain came to see it. This time, Arvin didn't just show, he demonstrated a full mission. A nurse from the rural health center placed a box of real medicine into the cargo compartment. Arvin programmed the GPS coordinates of a small coastal village 12 kilometers away, usually a 1-hour trip by tricycle and boat. "Hiraya 1, Mission 1, he whispered, then tapped the command. The drone's propellers would. It ascended, turned smoothly, and shot forward silent except for a gentle hum. Gliding over rice paddies, rivers, and rough roads, the captain stared at the live video feed on Arvin's old phone screen. Fields, hills, then the shoreline. In the coastal village, residents looked up, shading their eyes. Children pointed and screamed with excitement. The drone descended near the barangay hall, dropped the small medicine container on a marked spot, then rose again and flew back toward Nagaling. 20 minutes later, it landed where it had started, the battery still with juice to spare. The nurse checked the medicine intact and spoiled. The barangay captain couldn't believe it. "Arvin," he said, "do you know what you've just done? You cut 1 hour of travel down to 20 minutes without burning a drop of fuel." Word spread fast. Local news covered the solar drone of Pampanga. Clips of Hiraya, one delivering small boxes across the fields, went viral. Comments flooded in from Filipinos across the country and OFWs around the world. "Imagine if we had this opera been namin, pwede to sa bandag, sa ila, sa baha, Pinoy noon naman ang nagpakatanggalas." Eventually, a tech vlogger in Manila reacted to the story in a video titled, "Filipino team builds solar drone Elon Musk said was impossible." The video climbed trends. Foreign viewers were fascinated. Some tagged famous tech figures. One comment stood out. Someone. Send this to Elon. A week later, during a major international tech summit streamed live online, someone in the audience stood up during the Q&A and asked Elon Musk directly, "Have you seen the Filipino solar drone project, Hiraya 1? You once said solar delivery drones were basically impossible. What do you think of this kid from Pampanga?" On live stage, with cameras pointed at him, Elon laughed lightly and shrugged. "I haven't verified those claims," he said. "There are many videos out there. True solar-only flight with useful payload and reasonable range is very difficult. If that kid actually built what people say he did, then yeah, that would be impressive." The clip of his answer went viral overnight. Some headlines teased, "Elon doubts Filipino drone." Others were harsher. But for Arvin, it wasn't an insult. It was fuel. "You want verification," he thought. "I'll give you more than that." Requests poured in from NGOs, LGUs, even small island cooperatives. But Arvin was cautious. He didn't want Hiraya 1 to be a toy or a quick gimmick. He wanted it tested in the hardest conditions during storms, in mountains, across wide seas. Backed by a small grant from a local university and donations from OFWS impressed by his work, he built Hiraya 2 and Hiraya 3 larger, tougher, more refined. They ran missions to island barangays after floods washed up roads, ferrying water purification tablets, canned goods, and medicines. They delivered exam papers to schools cut off by landslides. They carried blood samples from small clinics to central labs, cutting critical wait times. Each mission was recorded, logged, documented flight times, distances, payload weights, solar recharging rates. An international humanitarian NGO took interest when a severe typhoon battered a chain of small islands in the Visayas, knocking out power and ports. They invited Arvin and his drones to help. While big helicopters were grounded by dangerous winds and ships couldn't dock yet, Hiraya drones slipped through windows of calm, flying low and steady, dropping high-priority packs, insulin, antibiotics, satellite phones. Videos of Hiraya drones flying over flooded homes and ruined ports. Their green and white bodies glittering against storm clouds touched hearts worldwide. "Powered by the same sun that will rise again tomorrow," wrote one caption from afar. Journalist who covered the story. This time, the World Tech Press paid attention. Articles came out with titles like "Filipino solar drone outperforms conventional delivery in disaster zones" and "From junkyard to lifeline, the story." Of Hiraya, tech forums buzzed with analysis. How is this kid doing this? Is this actually more efficient than our prototypes? Engineers began dissecting every frame of recorded flight footage. Eventually, an email appeared in Arvin's inbox with a domain name he recognized instantly. It was short and direct. "We'd like to invite you to present Hiraya at our Innovation Summit in Texas. Travel and lodging covered. Sincerely, Space Grid Conference Committee." Within weeks, Arvin was on his first ever flight outside the Philippines. He wore a simple bron and borrowed black shoes. His mother, eyes misty, packed tuyo and rice in case he didn't like foreign food. His father pulled him aside at the airport. "Anik," he said, gripping Arvin's shoulder, "whatever happens there, remember you are already our champion." In Texas, the summit was overwhelming. Giant booths with polished electric jets, sleek concept cars and robots. Massive screens looping promo videos. CEOs paced the stage with rehearsed charisma. Arvin felt out of place carrying his battered laptop and a thick folder of scribbled notes. But when it was his turn, something changed. He stepped onto the stage, looked at the crowd of engineers, investors, and media, and took a deep breath. Behind him, the large screen lit up with the words, Hiraya, a Filipino solar drone for the islands. For you, this might be another drone. Arvin began, his voice steady. For us, this is how Lola gets her medicine when boats can't sail. This is how a student gets exam papers when roads are destroyed. This is how relief reaches islands before hunger does. He played footage from Pampanga, the Visayas Hiraya drones taking off from grassy fields, landing gently on makeshift pads in remote villages, people cheering as they collected supplies. He displayed hard numbers, flight range, payload, kilowatt hours used, solar recharge times, cost per mission compared to diesel boats and motorcycles. Then he revealed one more thing. You said solar drones couldn't fly far enough with real weight. He said, pulling up a chart, but we flew 20 kilometers, delivered 5 kilograms, and returned with 30% battery left on nothing but sun. Not in a lab, not in perfect conditions. The real world, in storms, in heat, in mud. The audience was silent. Then, unexpectedly, someone stood up, Elon Musk himself, who had arrived earlier for a later keynote. He walked to a microphone positioned along the aisle. Camera swiveled. Every phone went up. I have a question, Elon said. What are your materials, and how much does it cost to build one Hiraya drone? Arvin swallowed hard. This was at the moment the world would replay. We use bamboo composites, recycled plastics, and salvaged cells where possible, he answered. Our most advanced unit costs less than one mid-range smartphone to build in the Philippines. The room erupted in murmurs. Elon nodded slowly. So, on record, he said, you did what I said was nearly impossible with local materials, a shoestring budget, and starting from a place people call developing. That's impressive. Very impressive. A moderator asked Elon if he still believed solar delivery drones were impractical. Elon smiled. I believe I was just proven wrong by a brilliant young man from the Philippines. And I'm happy about that. The story blew up globally. Headlines shouted, Filipino inventor proves Elon Musk wrong on solar drones, and from Pampanga to Texas, how Hiraya shook Silicon Valley. Interviews, offers, and invitations flooded in. Some companies wanted to buy him out. Others wanted exclusive rights. Governments dangled visas and fat contracts. Arvin thought of his Lola, of flooded islands, of the hot, dusty roads back home. Then he replied to all of them with a single principle. Hiraya would not be another technology hoarded by the rich. He formed Hiraya Labs in the Philippines, a social enterprise headquartered not in Makati, but in Pampanga. He set up makerspaces in rural schools to teach kids how to build and repair drones. He published simplified versions of his designs open source for governments and NGOs in other developing countries. He partnered with local universities, not foreign megacorps, to keep innovation rooted in Filipino soul. Soon, other nations facing similar challenges, Indonesia with its islands, parts of Africa with remote villages, South American communities in floodplains embraced Hiraya designs. They adapted them for their own needs, but they never forgot where the idea began, with a Filipino kid in a small barangay. 1 year later, at a global summit on climate and resilience, Arvin was invited as a keynote speaker. Delegates from 190 countries listened as he spoke, his brawn crisp, his words simple. You don't need billions to innovate, he said. You need a problem that hurts you enough to care, a community that believes in you, and the courage to try what others call impossible. When someone tells you it can't fly, ask them, Have you tried? Where I live, with what we have. Because sometimes the people with the least resources have the most powerful reasons to succeed. He ended with a message to the youth. To every Filipino watching this from Tondo to Tarlac, from Mindanao to Ilocos, don't wait for permission from rich countries to start building. Don't wait for perfect gear or perfect English or perfect grades. Start where you are, with what you have, for the people around you. The world already doubts you. That's good. That means you get to surprise them. As the audience stood and applauded, Arvin smiled, not thinking of the headlines, or Ellen's words, or the cameras. He thought of a quiet, sunny day in the Goling, when a boy watched a drone rise above rice fields for the first time, proving to himself that even dreams born in small places can fly high enough to touch the sky. If this story moved you, like this video, share it with every Filipino you know, and subscribe for more stories that show what our people can do. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas. Mabuhay ang batong hindi sumusuko.